Hi, so welcome to the stream today. Really excited for having you on the stream today as we look at the Chief Examiner's report for July 2024 examination and also consider the various recommendations that the Chief Examiner has made. And the most important thing is for us to understand what makes people fail the examination from the perspective of the Chief Examiner, and also pick the Chief Examiner's brain on what we have to do in order to position ourselves to ultimately pass the examination. And by so doing, we are then finding ways to avoid how to fail the exam. Because one thing you must understand is that the exam that is coming up, majority of students are going to be failing the examination, but some people are going to be passing the exam as well. The question is, how do you position yourself so that you be among the people who will be passing the examination and not be statistics, that's the data in respect of the people who are going to be failing the exam. So we want to get straight up into the discussion today and consider the Chief Examiner's report. I'm going to also provide you with some strategies on what you need to look out for, the things that you need to focus on to increase your chances of passing the examination. If there are any questions, don't hesitate. Share them with me in the comment section or the chat box. I'll be reading all of your comments and answering questions that you have as well for me. Also, let me know the subject you are writing in the November 2024 examination. I want to provide you with some tailor-made strategies that will help you to know how to study the topics, which topics you're supposed to really prioritize and focus on to really position yourself to pass the examination. So that's what we want to get ourselves into this afternoon. Let me bring up my screen quickly, and then we can get excited into the discussion today. So we're starting with financial reporting straight up, going into the discussion. So this is July 2024, the Chief Examiner's report on financial reporting. So we're going to be looking at financial reporting, corporate reporting, public sector accounting and finance, and other ones as well. So you can put in the comment section for me the subject you are writing. Then we're going to be getting into that, and I'll provide you with some strategies today as we continue with the discussion. So there are just a few things I want you to take note of the Chief Examiner's report on financial reporting. The first one is going to be the pass rate. That's about 35%. And that is the average pass rate, 35%. So for the July 2024 examination, the pass rate was 35%. What does that mean? It means that if 100 people sat for the exam, 65 of the people failed. If 1,000 people sat for the exam, 650 of the people failed. So it tells you that the pass rate was pretty slim in that case. And if you look at it, 35%. Now, that is the average mark. It doesn't get better than 35. So that's good for the examiner on the average. But what was the concern of the examiner really when it comes to financial reporting? What was the examiner's concern when it comes to financial reporting? So the examiner raised just one concern here that I want us to really highlight on as we position ourselves to go into the examination. And this is also going to be cutting across for those of you writing financial reporting or advanced financial management. And so the examiner said that the above weighting indicates that the content and application of IFRSs constitute about 70% of the syllabus, and that hardly can a candidate pass the financial reporting paper if he or she does not put premium on the learning of the IFRSs. 70% of the questions relates to IFRSs. And so the examiner is saying that, hey, listen, if you want to pass the examination, you have to be strong in the accounting standards. If you want to pass the examination, then you have to put premium on the accounting standards, because that is the only way you can pass the exam. And here we are seeing 70%. Now, I have said this over and over again to students, and so once you are hearing it from the examiner, you are reading it from the examiner's report, you know that this is what we are talking about, 70%. And so the question people ask is, all right, Nhyira, how do I learn the accounting standards? What accounting standards must I focus on to increase my chances of passing the examination? I tell students this when it comes to the accounting standards. And so, and as I said earlier, corporate reporting also the same thing, because in corporate reporting, we're going to be understanding our understanding of accounting standard is also going to play a crucial role. In other words, if we are strong in the accounting standards, then we are likely to go and pass the corporate reporting examination. Because business valuation, accounting standards, we are likely to call an accounting standards. Business reconstruction, it depends. The footnotes, we are likely to call on an accounting standard. The issue in respect of ratios analysis, consolidated financial statement, evaluation of financial statements, all of these will call for accounting standards. And so passing the financial reporting or corporate reporting examination would depend on your ability to understand the accounting standards. And so the question then is, all right, how do you learn the accounting standards? What accounting standards must you focus on to increase your chances of ultimately passing the examination? Now, I have mentioned this previously, and I'm going to be saying it again, that the accounting standards are, if you want, symbiotic. What does that mean? It means that the accounting standards are interconnected with each other. And so the way you learn the accounting standards is to know how the accounting standards are interconnected. And many a times students tell me that, hey, Nhyira, the reason why the accounting standard is difficult, the reason why I'm not able to learn the accounting standard is because it's a lot. And I'm like, yeah, but you're supposed to know all of them before you go to the exam hall, right? You are supposed to know all of the accounting standards before you go to the exam hall. So without an in-depth knowledge of the accounting standards, you're going to screw it up in that case. So what accounting standards do we look at, and how do we study the accounting standards? As I always say, you want to look at the grandpapa of accounting standards, and that is IAS 16, Property, Plant, and Equipment. Now, when you take IAS 16, Property, Plant, and Equipment, there are a number of things that you need to understand here, because for the most part, if you take any accounting standard at all, what is going to happen is that we're going to be having the initial measurement and subsequent measurement, definition, the key terminologies that we have to define, the recognition criteria, disclosure requirements. So if you look at it carefully, the objective of the standard, key definitions or terminologies that we must know about, the recognition criteria, the initial measurement, the subsequent measurement, and disclosure requirements. So almost every accounting standard you pick, these are the 6 things that you must know about, because the examiner can come from any of these 6 areas in respect of a given question for you to write on. And so when we pick IAS 16 Property, Plant, and Equipment as, say, a starting point, we need to know about the initial measurement. Now, if you're a good student from the financial reporting class, measurement is the determination of the monetary value at which an item will be carried in the financial statement, whilst recognition has to do with the incorporation of the transaction into the financial statement. So we have the initial measurement, and then we come to subsequent measurement. So initial measurement and then subsequent measurement. So the question we ask ourselves is, okay, on the initial measurement, what accounting standards must we be mindful of? If you remember in IAS 16, if you don't remember, I'm explaining again to you here. The initial cost of an asset shall be the purchases, the manufacturing, or the construction cost, plus any other directly attributable cost incurred in bringing the assets to its present use. So any costs we are incurring to bring the asset to its present use or condition will be included in the initial cost of the asset. For this reason, there are a number of accounting standards that are going to be coming to town on the initial measurement of property, plant, and equipment, and that is number 1, IAS 37 provisions. Because in accordance with IAS 37 provisions, where there is a present obligation for an entity to make a payment in the future in respect of an asset that they have installed or they have purchased, then the standard states that we must discount that payment into present terms, and that present value amount must be included in the initial cost of the asset. And that is where IAS 37 is going to be coming to town. Then certainly on subsequent measurement, we'll calculate the finance cost or winding, which will go to the P&L account. But in the initial measurement of an asset, we are going to be seeing that IAS 37 is coming to town, and we have to know about it. Not only that, we're going to talk about IAS 19, employee benefits. Now, when we pay wages and salaries to employees, normally relating to the day-to-day running of the organization, that will be written off in the profit or loss account. Okay, so we pay wages and salary to employees. That will be part of operation expenses or administrative expenses. Will be written off in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. But if the payment we are giving to employees relates to the manufacturing, construction, or building of an asset, then the salaries will be included in the initial cost of the asset, and that is in accordance with IAS 19, employee benefit. That's another thing we need to understand. Number 3, we're going to talk about IAS 23, and that is borrowing cost. Now, if an entity borrows money to run the day-to-day affairs of the entity, then the interest expenses will be written off in the P&L account. As always, it will be part of finance cost, written off in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. But if the entity borrows the money or use the borrowed fund to acquire or construct a qualifying asset, then IAS 23 states that the interest expenses relating to the period where there is an activity ongoing, expenditure is being incurred, and borrowing cost is being incurred, then the borrowing cost relating to that, the construction of this asset or building of this asset, will be capitalized, or if you want, included in the initial cost of the asset. Give me a sec. So borrowing cost is a basic accounting standard that we need to know about. Then we come to IAS 20, accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. If an entity receives grants in respect of acquisition of assets, there are two ways the grants will be treated. It can be written off against the cost of the asset or recognized as a deferred income. And so if we are going to go with the grants being written off against the initial cost of the asset, then initial measurement, IAS 20 is going to be coming to town, and we got to be mindful of that. Not only that, sometimes we could buy an asset and the transaction is denominated in a foreign currency. And so we have to apply IAS 21, effects of changes in exchange rate, so that the asset that has been bought, which was bought in a foreign currency, will be translated at the exchange rate or using the exchange rate at the date of the transaction. And that becomes the initial cost of the asset. And so, again, you see, this is one thing you must understand. The accounting standards, as I said earlier, they are intertwined. And so you must know when which accounting standard is coming to town. Because sometimes one of the questions that people also ask me is this: Nhyira, I've read the question, but how do I know this is the accounting standard in the question? You see, if you read a question and you don't know which accounting standard is in the question, it means you don't understand accounting standards. Let's take that again. If you are reading the question, the examiner says, explain how this should be accounted for in accordance with IFRSs. And you've read the question, you've read the scenario, but you don't know which accounting standard to apply, it means you are weak in the accounting standards. Why? Because if you are strong in the accounting standards, there are keywords, phrases, terminologies, statements, clauses that when you read, you will know that, oh, this one is talking about this accounting standard. This one is talking about that accounting standard. And so that is the concept here. So you must know when which standard is coming to town and how to apply the principles based on the scenario under review. And that is what you need to understand. So on the initial measurement of property, plant, and equipment, we can come in with 37, 19, 23, 20, 21. And that is very important for us to know about in that regard. And sometimes our OG accounting standard will come to town, which is IFRS 13, fair value measurement. Because if we have to determine the fair value of the asset for initial recognition, maybe we are translating from investment property to a PPE, or we are translating from others class of assets to PPE, then IFRS 13 is going to be coming to town. So on initial recognition, these are accounting standards that are on their own, but they also have connection. They have relationship, if you want, with property, plant, and equipment, and that could affect the amount at which we initially measure or recognize an intangible asset. Sorry, a property, plant, and equipment. The idea is almost the same for intangible assets, really, as well, though, but we are dealing with property, plant, and equipment here. Then we come to subsequent measurement. Now, on subsequent measurement of PPE, an entity has two options. Either they will use the cost model, which means the asset will be carried at the historical cost, less accumulated depreciation or impairment losses, or they will carry the asset at the revaluation model or at the fair value, which means that the asset will be carried at the revalued amount, less any depreciation or impairment losses. But no matter irrespective of the method or the model being used, you realize that the asset has to be depreciated. And so it is important we understand the various methods of depreciation. We have the straight line method, the reducing balance method, the sum of year digits method, and other forms of methods that can be used to depreciate assets. But on subsequent measurement also, there are a number of accounting standards that you need to be mindful of, because irrespective of the method we are using, we may have to test for impairment. So, IAS 36, impairment of assets. We have to be mindful of that. That's a basic accounting standard you need to look out for. Not only that, on subsequent measurement, the entity may revalue its assets. Now, when an entity revalue its assets, then it is important we know the tax implication. All right? It is important we know the tax implication. So IAS 12 will come to town, and that is going to be income tax. We have to know about it. Because when an entity revalue its assets, it's likely that the carrying amount will be greater than the tax base, which is going to result into deferred tax liability, because that is going to be taxable temporary difference, or the carrying amount is less than the tax base, which is going to result into deferred tax assets, because that is deductible temporary difference. And so IAS 12 could come to town. Income tax, we need to know about it. 3, it is likely that we have to talk about IFRS 5, non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operation. Because if a property, plant, and equipment that an entity is using, and they decide that they want to sell they want to sell it, and they have decommissioned it so the asset is available for sale, the entity is looking for a buyer, then they expect the sales to be completed in less than 12 months. That means they're going to now move from IAS 16 to IFRS 5, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. Then also we can talk about the issue in respect of IAS 40, investment property, because again, on subsequent measurement, an entity may decide to stop using an asset as an owner-occupied asset and start using it as a non-owner-occupied asset. And in that case, it is important we understand how to account for such assets as well. So just for trial purposes, you seeing what's happening here. So that, how many accounting standards are we seeing here? So we are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 accounting standards. 11. Now, we have to understand them in their own rights, but we need to also know how these standards connect with IAS 16. And that's how you learn the accounting standards. So it's not like, yo, I finished reading IAS 36, Allah Wallahi. I finished reading IAS 19. Chale, if it comes, I'm going to do it. Nah, bro. Do you really understand how the standard relates to other accounting standards? Do you get the relationship that exists between the standards? That's very important. You need to know about this. Now, so that's the starting point. And so if we go back to the examiner's statement, let's go back to the examiner's statement. The examiner says that the above weighing indicates that the content and application of IFRSs constitute about 70% of the syllabus, and that hardly can any student or hardly can a student pass the financial reporting if he or she does not put premium on on learning of the IFRSs. So that's the beginning. Then once you are through with these guys, there are some 3 parties, as I said, they go together if you want to. So we have the connected accounting standard. 3 of them, and that is IFRS 16, leases, IFRS 15, revenue from contract with customers, and IFRS 9, financial instruments. Now, one thing you must know is that there is a high probability that the examiner will bring a question about one of these guys, or all the 3. All the 3 will be applicable if we have a leases question and it's a sale and lease back. Then we would have to apply IFRS 15, IFRS 9 to determine whether performance obligation has been satisfied or whether it is not a sale, so then it is a financial transaction and the asset was used as a collateral facility, in which case we continue to account for the asset in accordance with the applicable accounting standard. And so these 3 accounting standards, you have to know about them. So what am I trying to let you know here? What I'm trying to let you know here is that, yes, as per the Chief Examiner's report, you cannot pass financial reporting and by extension, corporate reporting without an in-depth understanding of the accounting standards. And the accounting standards are not difficult. They are not difficult. Now, you can check our YouTube channel. We have lecture videos on almost all the accounting standards. We have lecture videos on almost all the accounting standards that you can get access to and study. But if you want well-structured content, also tailor-made, then you can decide to enroll in our course and get access to all of our premium content as well, available on the Nhyira Premium mobile application. Because we organize everything and discussed everything in respect of the accounting standards, solving questions, and you'll be able to join our live lectures as well to be able to solve questions so you can understand the basic principles that relates to the accounting standards. And that is what you need to understand. So to pass the financial reporting and by extension corporate reporting examination, you need the accounting standards. Yes, I know, sometimes over the years, one of the things I hear my students talk about is this in the financial reporting and corporate reporting class. I'll be teaching. Then somebody will be like, oh, when are we doing consolidation? Oh, when are we doing ratios? Because we spend time to look at the accounting standards. But people are like, hey, when are you doing consolidation? When are you doing ratios? How can you do consolidation if you're not solid on ratios? How would you be able to know when they say that at the date of acquisition, fair value of net assets are equal to their carrying amount with the exception of the following assets? An intangible asset, and it must be amortized, So even in the consolidated financial statement, you got to be strong in the accounting standards to be able to do consolidated financial statement. And one of the delusion that students have is that financial reporting and corporate reporting is about consolidation. It's about consolidation. No, consolidation is just one of the questions you will see in the exam hall for 20 marks. If the examiner gets goosebumps, he's going to even do 15 marks for consolidation. But for you to excel even in the consolidation, you should be strong in the accounting standards. And that is what you must understand about financial reporting and corporate reporting. Now, certainly there are other accounting standards like IAS 2, inventories, IAS 41, agriculture, IAS 8, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors, IAS 10, the events after the reporting period, IAS 38, intangible assets, IAS 33, earnings per share, and these are the accounting standards that you must know about before you head into the exam hall. But whether you like it or not, we have to be strong in the accounting standards. And so the clue then is, all right, you have to sit down and study the accounting standards. And that is what I was sharing with you yesterday, that if you are going to just sit down, wait 2 weeks to the exam, a week to the exam, 3 days to the exam, and think that you can attend a class somewhere or you can take a leave and know all of these accounting standards, you will go and fail the examination. And this is one of the prime reasons why people continue to fail financial reporting and corporate reporting examination. So 1,000 people sit for the exam, 650 students are in the mud, have failed the examination. Why? You didn't prepare for the exam. It's not that the exam is difficult, you just did not prepare for the examination. And so that is the thing. Yes, the other topics are there. Financial reporting students, we're going to have questions on single entity financial statement. But each of the footnotes in the single entity financial statement is an accounting standard. Yes, you're going to have ratios coming in, but there are types of ratio questions which will require you to adjust the financial statements given to you before you calculate the ratios, which is an accounting standard issue. You get the idea? So the whole syllabus, it's rising or falling on the accounting standards. And so your ability to be able to understand the accounting standards will either make you or break you when it comes to financial reporting or corporate reporting in the examination or in the exam hall. And that is why you need to be mindful of it. That is why you have to really spend time to understand this very well. So that is the idea about financial reporting. Pass rate, 35%. So you have two options. You become serious, like we discussed yesterday, and be part of the 35 out of 100 that will be passing the exam, or continue with your delusion and be part of the 65 out of 100 who will be failing the exam. The choice is yours. The decision is yours. You will decide what exactly you want to do generally at the end of the day, because it is your responsibility. It is your decision. Nobody can do anything about it for you. The next thing we want to look at, it's going to be public sector accounting and finance. Now, with public sector accounting and finance, the examiner also shares some thoughts of what really is happening here for public sector accounting and finance. And some of these problems actually cut across in the other subjects. The first one is inconsistency with questions requirement. Now, look at what the chief examiner said. The chief examiner said that candidates often fail to provide responses that align with the specific requirements of the question. Responses that align with the specific requirements of the question. So the examiner has asked you, what are the roles of Parliament in respect of public sector budgeting? That question is different from explain the role of Parliament in accordance with the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921 as amended. So if you are not careful, it looks the same, but it's different. One is contextualizing budget, the other one is generic. Generic. And so that's the first issue. Inconsistency. People providing responses to the specific requirements of the question. As I was telling you yesterday, people are asked, prepare a statement of budget performance. Then they are preparing common size analysis. Prepare a statement of budget performance. Then they are doing a statement that you don't even know what the heck is the name of the statement. And that is one of the challenges the chief examiner has identified. And so if you are going to go into the exam hall, it is important, as I said yesterday, you understand the context of the material and you know how the material apply to specific questions. If not, you're going to screw this up in the exam hall. Like, you're going to screw it up generally. Number 2, limited coverage of the syllabus. Yeah. People are looking for hotspots. People are looking, hey, okay, so Charlie, what is coming? Hey, what is coming? What is coming? And that is where sometimes I see people sheepishly doing things that they are not supposed to do. Especially 3 days to the exam, you will have students, hey, Charlie, I've seen the mock from this institution, or I've seen the mock from this people, or I've seen the mock from this people, or I'm solving questions from this people. Or, bro, you don't need to, all that is good. Your only responsibility is understand the material, cover everything in the syllabus. Then you can expose yourself to questions. But for some of you, you will not study. You will not spend time to study, but you are solving questions. Now, how the heck can you pick a question to solve if you have not studied the thing? And it's one of the problems I have with students. I've had students because, again, here, one thing we do is if we do performance evaluation test, assignment is given, and you don't do it, you don't take part in the discussion of those questions. And so one of the dumbest things I hear people say is, oh, I wasn't able to join the class, post the assignment on the page or send the assignment to our email, and we'll do the assignment. And I'm like, really? What are you smoking? You missed the class. You've not watched the playback of the video. Because if you watch the playback of the video, then you will know that assignment was given. So the topic, you don't understand it. You've not gone through it. You've not interrogated, but you think you can do the assignment? Like, what are you smoking? And these are the same thing that people take to the exam hall. They are lazy. They don't have time to study, but they want to become successful. No, life is not built like that. As I shared with you yesterday, life is not built like that. You study, you can pass the exam. But if you don't want to study, you're going to fail the exam. And that's the problem. Limited coverage of syllabus. So instead of sitting down, reading, sitting down, watching playback, sitting down, studying, they won't do. But you are going to write the exam. And they are looking for questions to solve. And you pick the question, you can't solve the question. You look at the solution, you don't understand the solution. Why? Because you don't understand the material. You have not studied the topic thoroughly. So how do you expect to pass the exam? How do you expect to answer the question when you have not studied? Like how? Tell me. Are you a magician? Or you've taken examination medicine? That you get to the exam hall, you put your pen on your forehead and say, hey. Then the answer will come. No, it won't work. Try it. It won't work. Because the spirit behind the exam is bigger than the spirit you think you are trying to bring it to life. It won't work. So this is the second issue. Limited coverage of the syllabus. And so if you are going into the November 2024 examination, you need to make sure that you cover the syllabus. Don't just follow questions. And that's what hurts me a lot about some of my students. Because I see what they are doing, and I can know this exam you are going to fail. And 99.9% of the time, they go to the exam hall, they fail. Because it's not magic. Success leaves clues. I can know who is going to pass or fail the examination ahead of time. I've been in the game for a long time. Because, tell me, you miss lectures, right? You are not able to join class. The video is available on our portal. You have not watched it because you are busy. Okay. Summary videos of that topic is available in our mobile application. All these can be downloaded. You won't watch. But you expect that you can solve questions? What are you doing? And people who do this. Then when it is 2 weeks to the exam, a week to the exam, that's where they start studying. And by that time, you are too late. Because I keep on telling you, revision sessions, revision masterclass are not for lazy people. Revision sessions are for people who have been studying. And during that time, you just polish them. That's why our executive revision masterclass is not open to the public. It's for our students. Because by the time we reach that time, that 2 weeks to the exam, we know the problem of our students. We know what they have been through, especially people who have been doing assignments, performance evaluation tests. We know the problems that they are going through. And so that is how we are able to then design, using AI and data, to be able to design our executive revision masterclass, the questions to focus on, the topics to look out for, so we can help them to go into the exam or write the exam to pass the examination. So you have to sit down to study. 3, poor time management. I couldn't say this more. Yesterday we spoke about this poor time management. Because you see, in the exam hall you have 3 hours. So you have to work with speed and accuracy. So yesterday we discussed this. I mentioned that you need to be able to put yourself in a simulation. All the time, when you are studying and you start solving questions, you have to put yourself in a simulation. You need to assume that you are sitting in the exam hall, so that if you are solving a question and the question is a 5 marks, that is for 9 minutes. If the question is 10 marks, that is for 18 minutes. If the question is a 20 marks question, that is for 36 minutes. So what are you doing? You are trying to push yourself. Because as I said yesterday, sometimes people fail the exam not because they don't know the material, but because they couldn't work with speed and accuracy within the time available. And nobody cares. And so some people are like, oh, I'm a slow writer. I'm a slow reader. Nobody cares about your slowness. I say this always. And it's not that I'm not empathizing with you. It's not that I am not agreeing with you. I want to let you know, nobody cares. It's 3 hours. After the 3 hours, they say stop work. What you were able to do within the 3 hours will determine whether you pass or you fail the exam. So instead of waiting to learn about time allocation and time management in the exam hall, what I want you to do, like I told you yesterday, is to solve questions under speed and accuracy, like under time. So throughout your study period, when you are taking a question, you are working with speed and accuracy. You are working with speed and accuracy. You are working with speed and accuracy. So when you do this over the 12-week period, by the time you get to the exam hall, your brain has already accustomed itself with that speed and accuracy thing. And so you will know when I read a question, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm not supposed to do. So time management is an issue. Then, disorganized responses. Some candidates fail to communicate their ideas effectively and organize their responses professionally. This includes mixing up sub-questions in their presentation, making it challenging for examiners to follow their responses. Candidates are reminded to adhere strictly to instructions provided in the answer booklet and present their responses in clear, organized manner. Another problem, people cannot communicate their thoughts precisely. People cannot write straight, cannot go straight to the point. You have to be able to learn this. Again, you can only work on this not in the exam hall, but before the exam. Not in the exam hall, before the exam. That is why you have to make time to study. That is why you have to expose yourself to questions. Because when you are solving questions, you expose yourself to questions, that is where you will know, okay, this was the answer I wrote. But as per the answer booklet or the marking scheme, this was the answer provided. Oh, where did I go wrong? Then if you're in a community where you are held accountable, like our community where there is mentorship session like that, then you are guided. Okay, this was what you did. You're not supposed to do it this way. This was what you wrote. You're not supposed to have written it this way. And that is how you can then position yourself to pass the examination. Next, lack of knowledge. There are instances where candidates appear to have little to no preparation for the examination, resulting in response that demonstrates a complete lack of understanding of the subject matter. However, given the rigorous nature of the examination process conducted by ICAG, such candidates are unlikely to pass. Prospective candidates are advised to avoid entering the examination unprepared, as it is unlikely to yield positive outcomes. Again, it goes back to preparation. Listen, guys. Listen. Whatever subject you are writing, inshallah will not pass the examination. Drinking anointing oil will not pass the examination. Sowing seed and praying in tongues will not pass the examination. You can do all that. If you don't sit down to study, you are wasting time. Because God is not a magician. So you can sow seed, drink anointing oil, go to whatever mountain the heck it is, and go pray in whatever mountain in the world. If you don't sit down to study, you are going to fail the examination. And this is the chief examiner. And these are all things that I shared with you yesterday. And so what distinguishes the 35% from the 65%? The 65% of the students who are going to fail the exam, why do they fail? Because they lack knowledge. Why do they fail? Because they don't prepare. Why do they fail? They are not able to work within time. Why do they fail? Because they write answers in opposite to what is being asked by the examiner. So what must you do? Sit down. Make time to study. Expose yourself to questions. Then when you are solving the questions, you work with speed and accuracy. That is how you position yourself to pass the examination. And that's what you need to understand. Again, this is the chief examiner. So the chief examiner is telling you that, hey, the reason why over 60% of students fail the exam is because of these. And so you have to know that, all right, maybe you were part of the people who failed the exam last semester or last two semesters. Because some of you, somebody once told me this, And the person was like, not that one person. I've heard people saying this over and over again. Oh, the ICAG exam, just register and keep writing and keep writing. You don't know when you will pass. I don't know who came up with such a dumb statement and such a dumb idea, though. That's not how you approach the examination. Oh, just keep writing. Just keep writing. Just register. Just register. Are you really serious? So you fail the examination. You won't sit down to study. You just register for the exam, attend one miserable revision class like that, then you walk into the exam hall thinking miraculously you're going to pass. That is foolishness. Right? That is absolute foolishness. There's no wisdom in that. If you fail the exam, sit down and ask yourself, why the heck did I fail? And put in place measures that will help you so you can pass the exam going into the future. But if you sit there and say, oh, the ICA exam there, you just have to keep writing. Just keep writing. Every semester, keep writing. Every semester, keep writing. And you keep failing. And you keep failing. And so that is where you see some people giving up on the journey. This is the chief examiner's report. Now, let's look at the last one, probably. Let's see if we can bring in management accounting here. Let's see management accounting, if we could have something there. All right, so management accounting, what should we be interested in? Candidates performed quite well in cash budgets. Some candidates had difficult preparing the credit payments. The theory questions were fairly answered. Weaknesses. Candidates had challenges with the performance measurement question, which is question 1, always an issue for management accounting students. Even though they demonstrated understanding of the appraisal technique, EVA, the question did not clearly define the capital employed to be used. The planned capital structure making the use of their current levels a bit challenging. Question 5, under short-term decision-making, cost volume analysis and sensitivity analysis pose a challenge for most students, which is short-term decisions. And so, again, in management accounting, we are seeing challenges in terms of the topics, in terms of the fact that many students are having challenges with some of the topics, some of the issues. Now, here, the examiner in this particular examination date, which is the July 2024 Chief Examiner's Report, the examiner did not give us an overall performance, but he mentioned something that will interest you. Let me bring it into my slide. He made a statement that will interest you. Look at the statement of the examiner. He said, the overall performance is below expectation. The overall performance is below expectation. What does that mean? And management accounting is one of the papers that students fail a lot. I can't tell you, how lazy people are in management accounting. For instance, we have about over 30 people or so in management accounting. We give an assignment and maybe 6 people or 8 people will do the assignment. But on the call, almost everybody is joining the call. And some people are watching the playback as well, but will not do assignment. And again, this goes back to what we've been talking about. You cannot sit down, wake up one morning, register for an exam, and think you're going to pass the examination. You're going to fail. So overall performance is below expectation. And sometimes management accounting, 20%. That's the overall pass mark. Once in a while, it hits 30. Why? Because students are refusing to sit down and practice what Charlie Munger called assiduity, sitting down to study. That's the goal. That's what you need in order for you to pass the examination. Okay? That's what you need in order for you to pass the exam. So the question is, which subject are you writing? Number 2, are you studying? Like really, are you studying? Or you were just haphazard, you were just passively approaching it. And you are in the camp where they say, oh, you did every semester register for the exam. You are just throwing money. And most importantly, wasting time. And most importantly, making your life more miserable. Because you see, one time I said this, I said, hey, listen, those useless stories we don't want to hear. Oh, I started the ICAG exam 10 years ago. I wrote, I failed. I wrote, I failed. I wrote, I failed. Then I stopped. Then I came back. Now, by the grace of God, I have become a chartered accountant. That story is not inspiring. It's a very stupid story. I don't find inspiration in such stupid stories. How the heck do you spend 10 years to do something that can be done in a year? And as I was telling you yesterday, you spend 10 years to do something that can be done in a year or 2. So somebody comes in, younger than you, focused than you, ready to sacrifice or make the sacrifices that you are not willing to make. They chatter, they go ahead of you in your career, they go ahead of you in everything, and you become bitter in life. I have been here working for this company. They didn't care about my sacrifices. Look at this person. The person became my boss, not doing anything. Yeah, your foolishness has led you to that. And we have to face reality. So it doesn't inspire me. When somebody takes 10 years to do something that can be done in 2 because of their laziness. And it's harsh, I know. You're going to sit down there and say, yeah, it's harsh. But nobody cares about how you feel. Because life hits you in the face the way it has to hit you. So if we are going to pass this examination, this is what we got to do. Now, these are the chief examiner's statements. These are the chief examiner's concerns. These are the things the chief examiner said students are doing and students must pay attention to in some of the subjects. So it boils down to the overall thing. You got to sit down. Whatever subject you are writing, make sure you understand the structure of that particular subject. Make sure you understand the key topics of focus for that particular subject. Make sure you spend time to solve questions. And when you're solving the questions, solve the questions under time. If you can do that, you will pass the examination. Don't approach this passively. Don't just do it haphazardly and say, oh, yeah, by the grace of God, Debbie. This is not life. Time is not on your side. Okay? Time is not on your side. You got to do this and do it as soon as possible because you can. Because you can. Seeing some comments coming in, let's see if I can bring my comments slide up. Any questions you have, you can put it in the chat for me. And I'll provide you with some answers as much as I can. If there are any questions for me, you put it in the chat or the comment section for me. I don't know if my comments are able to pop up though. So this is Peter Abubakar. He said, I'm writing financial reporting. Okay. So I've spoken about financial reporting and what the chief examiner mentioned. And what the chief examiner said, students are not taken seriously in that regard. And so I hope that is going to help you to really do well. Most importantly, I hope that you are attending lectures. Because I tell people this always, you got to attend lectures. I don't care. Maybe you've written the paper 2, 3, 4 times. I don't care. You have to attend lectures. Not just any lectures. A community where you are held accountable. A community where your needs are met. A community where you are given questions, you solve the questions, the scripts are marked, you are guided on the journey. Like our community. All right? So you have to attend lectures. Very important. I can't overemphasize that. Don't do yourself a lonely wolf. Yeah, Charlie, hey, I'm going to learn on my own. I say this always. When we put 10 people in a room to do self-study, to write the ICAG examination, probably only one out of the 10 people will pass the exam. Because if you are not part of a community, you are not being held accountable, there is no urgency on you on what you're supposed to do. Some people don't even know how to do common research. Some people don't even know how the questions are going to be. What are you supposed to say? How are you supposed to say it? How are you supposed to structure out your answers? And as we've read from the Chief Examiner's report, you are seeing these as one of the problems, one of the reasons why students are failing the examination. And so you got to be part of a community. You got to be held accountable. Very, very important. Very important. Then there's a comment here. Wiskin said, what? Absolutely 100%. Okay. Okay, I don't know if I can. Give me a moment. All right. So that is the idea about that, and these are the few things that you need to understand. So if you like, you can also get time and read through all of the Chief Examiner's report. Know why people are failing and put yourself in the position so you will not fail. That's it. And don't say that, oh, you just keep writing the exam. Oh, by the grace of God, I'm going to pass. Yeah, we believe in the grace of God. We believe in prayer. We believe in fasting. We believe in seed sowing. You can drink anointing oil. You can go to whatever the heck mountain you believe in to go and pray there. But that will not help you to pass the examination if you don't sit down to study. That's it. That's it. And if you can do that, then you can save yourself from the concerns of the chief examiner and then be able to be part of the 30% of the students who are going to be passing the November 2024. It's funny though, but that is the idea. On the average, only 3 out of 10 sitting for the ICAG examination will be passing. On the average. 3 out of 10. So 7 out of 10 will be failing the examination. That's it. So if you want to pass, put yourself in the position to be part of those 3% of the people who will be passing the examination. And if you do that, you'll be able to take your life to the next level in that regard. Thanks for watching. I'll be catching you same time tomorrow as we continue with our discussion. And tomorrow we're going to be starting with some practice questions in corporate, in financial reporting, as well as in other subjects. So tomorrow is going to be solving of questions. I'm going to be bringing the questions up. We go through the questions together and then we solve them and we see how far we can go in that regard. And again, we're going to be trying to explain the principles as we solve the questions, working with speed and accuracy and providing guidelines on what you have to do to be able to pass the examination. So all the best, and I'll see you same time tomorrow as we continue with our discussion. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not, or like and follow the page. Also share the video. Let's reach as many students as possible. If you know someone writing the exam who might be needing information like this, share the video with them, share the page with them, share the channel with them. Let us connect with as many people as possible so together we can help many people achieve their dreams of becoming business leaders one day. Thanks for watching. Catch you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.